Howdy everyone, Max here. So, I am a tad late to this party, aren't I? Well, better late than never, I suppose. But seriously, the reason why this video took so long to get is all thanks to share my life surrounding my abusive mother, which I will not go into. If you're a friend watching this video, you'll understand. In time I talk about my abuse, I guess, but for now I'd rather keep it private. I also hear that Mushroom Gold is doubling down and deflecting criticism as per the NG way. So, yay. Nonetheless, the points and criticisms I made in this video still apply. Also, given some things that happened since Muddle, this video will probably be uploaded after the situation. This isn't me trying to revive the drama as some people may believe, somehow. I am also aware that MG uploaded another video on the situation surrounding her, which is somehow even more garbage than the video I'm covering. Will I commentate on it? Perhaps. I don't know. Don't count on it. I also hear that MG will not be making videos on Proshipper for a while, including responses to videos of people who's criticizing her, which good. I don't care. Anyways, I apologize for the delay on this video. Depending when it gets uploaded, happy holidays, happy Halloween, etc, etc, etc. With all out of the way, let's begin the show. Howdy y'all, Max Dragonwolf here. Today we are covering Mushroom Gold's video on pro-shipping and why it's bait, specifically the section in which he tries to debunk anti-arguments. Before we can start, who is Mushroom Gold and what is pro-shipping? Mushroom Gold is a commentator who does between all commentary and slideshow commentary styles very regularly. She has a history of controversy longer than the entire World of Warcraft timeline, Lycaon included. As for what a Proshipper is a person who believes that because fiction is a separate plane from reality means the contents in the fictional world and the portrayal of it should not be criticized. There's a good video by Proshipping by Looking Down that goes over what it is, why it's bad, and debunks some pro-ship arguments, as well as a video by Avalon and Lycaon that goes over the same thing, both of which I'm gonna link in the description down below. Hi, editing Max again. Yeah, for some reason I cannot find the Looking Down video. It's just gone, I guess. Luckily, a video I found by Duchess Celestia will serve as replacement, and I will be linking that video in place of Doll's video until I find the video again. So, yeah, average Max Dragonwolf L. Moving on. Now I'm gonna put an additional disclaimer here. I found this video via a comment recommended by YouTube by Weasel and Rodent, and it exists, I guess. But the reason why I'm here is because I feel like Vincent, aka Weasel and Rodent, coverage on her video is surface level at best. I want to make this explicitly clear because Vincent had made this mistake. Do not under any circumstances make baseless claims that Mushroom Gold is a groomer under my comment. That is not acceptable under any circumstances, and if I catch any of y'all doing that, I will not hesitate to express my anger towards y'all. I know by the looks of it, Vincent seems to denounce the claims given what's currently pinned in the comment section of its video, but I want to make this clear because I feel it's right. With all that out of the way, let's begin the commentary.
What? I fucking hate you! Arena. Character growth. Right. I despise you. Close enough.
Yeah. Anti-shippers have created sort of a straw man of pro-ship beliefs in order to make their arguments sound more understandable. The definition has been heavily rewritten by antis to basically mean people who fetishize pedophilia and incest. I think you all can understand why this rewrite would be dangerous to the lives of pro-shippers. I don't think I need to spell it out for you. The definition has slowly turned from freedom of expression to basically a pedophile with extra steps, since anti-shippers usually believe that liking a problematic pairing in media, especially for some kind of sexual purpose, means that you would also find it attractive in real life as well. They are literally rewriting the definition to make it as easy to call pro-shippers pedophilic, abusive, family-fucking rapists as possible. Again, I don't think I need to spell it out for you why that's an issue. If pro-shippers really were so immoral, why would antis feel the need to change the definition based on what they see fit? Like, Yeah, no shit, if you change the definition of words on a whim, you can basically argue anything to be true. If you change the definition of leftism to mean people who like touching children, it's pretty damn easy to argue that leftism is pedophilic, isn't it? Almost every definition of pro-shipping you see when you look up the definition is backing up the definition I showed. You can't just rewrite the definition because it makes your arguments look bad. That's textbook dishonesty.
While I agree with the notion that playing semantics with definitions gets us nowhere, the way he presented his argument was dishonest. Not only do pro-shippers also have a habit of strawmanning and twisting definitions too, like who the fuck believes a pro when pro-shipper means problematic? While I don't deny there's someone out there who believes that this deadass feels like the Black Snow White rumor all over again. Back on top is that what makes it so dishonest that you present it as an anti-only thing, which while it's not a massive issue we should read the authorities for, it just doesn't sit right with me.
Many anti-shippers also make such lovely arguments about pro-shipping and the harm it does, so let's discuss some of those now.
If young impressionable children see content that's romanticizing pedophilia, incest, and abuse, they might think those behaviors are okay in real life.
I agree with this statement at face value, though there's one simple solution to this. Don't let this content get into the hands of people who are too young to properly differentiate fiction from reality. Unless that content is being deliberately shown to children or posted on websites made for kids, it's not pro-shippers' fault if children find that content. These works should have mature content warnings on them, and if they don't, then that's the individual creator's fault, not the fault of the pro-ship community or mindset as a whole.
I agree with the notion that pro-ship content should at least be tagged with a mature warning. The thing is, they often don't, which is why this argument exists to begin with. So, one person's mistake does not reflect on their community inherently, but again, a lot of pro-shippers don't tag their content with warnings.
Also, some of the content often discussed in these discussions is pornographic and probably shouldn't be in the hands of young children anyway, whether it features incest, abuse, and pedophilia or not. And yes, a few little kids with unrestricted access to the internet could gain access to this content no matter how well you hide it from them. But at that point, they're probably seeking it out, and that's not really the pro-shipper's fault. And fuck, by this logic, anything not kid-friendly isn't allowed on the internet. Fictional violence, fictional gore, pornography in general, not even just the stuff you personally find gross or immoral.
Did you fucking bastardize the fuck out of that argument? The argument was about pro-ship content not being tagged nor marked as inappropriate, thus allowing children to come across them. Not about 18 plus content or another content children should not see as a whole. Plus, if a minor is falsifying their age or whatnot in order to access content not for them, is not the creator's fault, and nobody in their right mind would say otherwise. You talked about anti-strawmanning, meanwhile you literally strawman the point of the argument you presented to the point where it doesn't even address it. Great, you're not gutless, you're incompetent.
Moral of the story, pro-shippers aren't babysitters. They are not responsible for your fucking kids.
Guess what, MG? Nobody is saying otherwise. Now, I can give you that it's not the internet's job to parent your kids, yes. However, that does not lift you at the border to make your kids unsafe online and not accessing the content they shouldn't, especially with the ever-rising iPad parenting problem among Gen Z children.
A victim of childhood sexual abuse or sexual assault might see this content and it might trigger them.
A lot of things might trigger a victim of abuse or assault. It entirely depends on the person and what they as an individual went through. Just because a certain kind of content makes someone upset or gives them a negative emotional reaction doesn't mean the content is inherently immoral or should be purged from the internet.
What? Is this even English? Absolutely no way that argument makes an insinuation that because pro-ship content can trigger victims of SA means it should be pulled from the internet. Now it only gives a reason why it's bad, but not the reason why it should be pulled. I am concerned at the state of your legs after that mental gymnastics session.
Something happened? I didn't see anything, and you didn't see anything. And you didn't feel anything either, right?
Fictional pedophilic content causes people to have those desires in real life and makes people commit those crimes in real life.
This is a common argument made by antis, and while to some it may seem sound at first, there has been, at least to my knowledge, no studies that properly confirm this claim to be true. Yes, there was most likely some kind of correlation between real-life sexual predators and proshippers, but it doesn't really mean much. Let me explain. Lycaon, Shotokan, and shipping that has pedophilic implications does not turn people into pedophiles.
Because they already have the desires. Nearly a reward is enough to prove that.
People who already have these real-life desires may enjoy the same things in fiction for pretty fucking obvious reasons. The same reasons why someone who likes stabbing people to death in real life in his off time would enjoy watching slasher movies.
Girl, what the fuck is you talking about?
Goal. Did you really just compare being into children being sexualized to fucking Halloween? Not only is this comparison so fucking stupid, but it doesn't even work, because the difference between the two is betrayal and intent. One is intended and portrayed to be sexual, whereas the other is meant to scare you and leave you on your seat. And also, what obvious reason would a pedophile who likes Lycaon and a serial killer who likes slasher movies would sell? It may be obvious to you and your audience, but not to newcomers.
Yet that does not mean that everyone who enjoys the slasher genre wants to hurt people in real life, or that the genre shouldn't exist. Hell, people have already committed crimes based on violent works of fiction, and I don't see any antis claiming that these works shouldn't exist.
Because there was a clear difference in how they were portrayed. Again, one is meant to be sexual and the other is meant to scare you. While yes, violent crimes had happened due to violence in the media, more crimes had happened involving sexual context, but unlike slasher films, there's more of a direct connection. Fun fact, a pedo is more likely to commit crimes against children than when under possession of cheese pizza of any sort when they don't possess some content.
Example that always pops up in my head when I think about this discourse is the Slender Man stabbing, a case where two 12-year-old girls attempt to murder their friend as a sacrifice to Slender Man.
But there was nothing normal about what happened the next morning when Morgan and Anissa suggest they all go to the park and then to the woods together.
Anissa told me to lie on the ground and cover myself in sticks and leaves and stuff, but it was really just a trick.
While playing hide and seek, then came Anissa's command, and Morgan attacks Peyton with a knife.
Morgan said, "Don't be afraid, I'm only a little kitty cat," and jumped on top of Bella and stabbed her repeatedly.
So did you guys talk about doing this beforehand?
He told me we had to.
Why?
Because he said that he'd kill our family.
Who's he?
A man. I didn't know him, but I think I knew him.
And this is where the story takes another turn to a fictional character on the internet.
There's this website called The Creepy Pasta Wiki. It's full of horror stories that are meant to hopefully scare you. And there's one of them called Slenderman.
Who's Slenderman?
He's a tall-faced man who preys on children. That's his own will. He can exploit his tentacles from his back. Sharing with his victims. The rule of the Creepy Pasta Wiki said he targets children most.
Anissa explained to me that to prove yourself worthy to Slender, you would have to kill somebody.
Morgan said you have to kill Bella.
The fictional work did have something to do with this crime. It's quite clear, but I don't see anyone blaming the fictional character or the people who wrote it for the atrocity.
Because Slenderman was not with the intent for either Morgan or Alyssa to attempt murder on their classmate. Now, I don't spoil my target's videos, however, I will make an exception today because after this interjection, Mushroom Girl played a clip from a movie bar video of all things about violence in media, and watching the video and the links provided in the description led me to find this fascinating clip.
Unfortunately, while the no visible link, nothing to see here argument is best for those who, like me, do not believe in restriction or censorship of artistic expression, well, like it or not, when this deranged psychopath in Colorado dresses himself up like a supervillain, shoots up a movie theater and tells the cops he's the Joker, or when Anders Behring Breivik, remember him, goes on a killing spree in Oslo and calls Call of Duty his training simulator, well, that's called a link, folks. An incredibly unreliable and very likely facetious link put forth by a diseased mind, yes, but I do think it means we kinda have to at least talk about it, yeah. So, let's. In the interest of cutting right to the chase, let's ask the question. Is it possible that violence, art, and entertainment are not healthy for society? That the prevalence of violent imagery, dark themes, morally ambiguous anti-heroism in our popular culture contributes to a climate that makes the development of the pathologies seen in these and other killers more widespread? Well, yes. I don't like it, and I sure as hell don't accept it as proven fact, but possible? Yes, it's possible. It's also possible that I'll get shot in the face tomorrow because I choose to wear a red shirt and happen to cross the path of a psycho who's driven to fits of murderous rage by the color red. because possible doesn't mean the same thing as likely. But to get more specific, is it possible that had these specific works never been produced, that the two subhumans in question might not have found avatars to give their insanity the form and, at least in their fractured minds, focus to be carried to fruition? Yes, possible. Not likely, not something I in any way buy, but in the name of intellectual honesty, I'm forced to admit, possible. But, I think there's an all-important follow-up question that no one ever seems to ask about these things. And that question is, possible or not, what can we actually do about it? Even if you could conclusively prove beyond a reasonable doubt that if the Dark Knight and or its version of the Joker had never existed, this freak show in Colorado would never have been quote-unquote inspired to undertake his vile, cowardly rampage, you won't and can't prove that, by the way, it would be completely meaningless. The movie already exists. You can't unmake it any more than you can unmurder those poor people. And no, you can't just say, well, we'll just make it so you can't make movies or games or books like that anymore and prevent the next one, because it's impossible to know what the next one will claim to lead back to. That's the fatal case closed, shows over flaw in the whole well-intentioned censorship argument. We never ever know what these scoundrels say inspired them until after the carnage has already happened. Charles Manson claimed his actions were influenced by a Beatles song, and you can bet your bottom dollar that at no point in the recording of the White Album did the record producers sit around and say, you know, Helter Skelter's a great track, but doesn't it sound like something that will clearly inspire a California cult leader to commit a series of brutal murders aimed at kickstarting an apocalyptic race war? You cannot accurately predict the actions of a madman. That's what makes him a madman.
That clip alone answered your question. While there can be links between violent media and violent action, these links are more often than not just unreliable links only targeted by those who want an easy way out of situations like this and do not represent the media as a whole. Like we were pointing out, Charles Manson's actions were inspired by a Beatles song. However, the link between the Mason Code and the Beatles is unreliable because while producing the track that inspired Mason, they cannot possibly predict what the track would cause Mason and his code to do. Why? Because you cannot predict the actions of a madman. That what makes them a madman. Also, nobody is using the Slenderman stabbing as an argument against pro-ship content. They're only using it against the notion that fiction does not reflect reality.
Another thing to note about this case is that one of the girls got admitted to a mental facility instead of just going to jail or juvie, which means that this crime could be much better blamed on mental illness as opposed to the creepypasta.
It can be blamed on mental health problems, with Slenderman being the factor as to why the crime happened. Your point is basically void.
A Wisconsin girl who admitted to participating in the stabbing of her classmate 19 times will avoid jail time. Jurors reached a verdict late last night in the trial for Anissa Wire. She pleaded guilty in August to the stabbing to please horror character Slender Man, but claimed to be mentally ill. Along with her friend Morgan Geyser, the two stabbed their classmate back in 2014 when all three were just 12 years old. After weeks of testimony over her mental state, the judge chose to send Anissa to a mental hospital.
Also, the Slender Man stabbing is far from the only crime that has some kind of link to a piece of fiction.
Unfortunately, while the no visible link, nothing to see here argument is best for those who, like me, do not believe in restriction or censorship of artistic expression, well, like it or not, when this deranged psychopath in Colorado dresses himself up like a supervillain, shoots up a movie theater and tells the cops he's the Joker, or when Anders Behring Breivik, remember him, goes on a killing spree in Oslo and calls Call of Duty his training simulator, well, that's called a link, folks. An incredibly unreliable and very likely facetious link put forth by a diseased mind, yes, but I do think it means we kinda have to at least talk about it, yeah. Charles Manson claimed his actions were influenced by a Beatles song, and you can bet your bottom dollar that at no point in the recording of the White Album did the record producers sit around and say, you know, Helter Skelter's a great track, but doesn't it sound like something that will clearly inspire a California cult leader to commit a series of brutal murders aimed at kickstarting an apocalyptic race war? You cannot accurately predict the actions of a madman. That's what makes him a madman.
Aw, look. It's a clip that directly contradicts MG's argument. Yahoo!
The point I'm trying to make here is that anti-shippers usually only throw a fit about dark media when it's sexual or romantic, which is a really weird specificity to have, but it's most likely based on moronic anti-kink and anti-porn beliefs. But it makes them look really silly when you see anti-shippers eating up dark, morally questionable, and violent content, but throwing a fit on the ground like a toddler when they see someone enjoying similarly dark, morally questionable, and violent content because it's just a tad horny. Oh,
wow, it's almost as if the portrayal is what matters, not the fact that subject matters exist to begin with. What do you know? If I have yet to make this clear, I'm an avid Warcraft fanboy with sometimes the themes of the following I'm showing on screen. However, the difference between the themes Warcraft portray in its lore and Proshipper content is that the former portray as terrible things while allow romanticize the themes in the subject.
Look, this next counter-argument is a rebuttal to what I just said. Let's hear it.
Rape is inherently worse than murder, which is why you can portray one in a fictional setting and not the other.
And who the fuck is arguing that? I get the anti-community is a snake eating its own tail for all the wrong reasons, but still, who the fuck is arguing that? Objectively speaking, rape and murder are the same level of bad. No, I will not explain because do I even have to explain? Actually, scratch that. While rape and murder are almost the same level of bad, the latter could be done accidentally or even with the right answers or understandable motivation, whereas the former straight up just does not give any excuse no matter what apologists say. Moving on. Also, cannot help but notice that the way you wrote that argument implies that anti are against the subject matter being tackled rather than the wrong portrayal of the subject matter. Again. It is not the fact that subject matter is here at all, it's how you portray it. How many times should I repeat this until I die?
White, yellow, orange, red, stink, Movember, bloop, pertangle, racist green, mystery color, and even red again.
Lycaon is illegal, so it must be morally wrong.
Are we really going to argue that the legality of certain actions dictates the morality of them? Really? Is that really where we're going here?
No, but we are gonna reward anti-arguments as a straw man. Nobody older than 12 years old generally believes that legality means morality if the 125 currently active anti-transgender bills across the US is anything to go by.
First of all, what laws are we talking about here? Each country has its own laws that differ from each other, and I am very sure that you could find somewhere in the world that does not have any kind of law against Lycaon. Saying that legality equals morality makes no sense because laws from different places contradict each other. Oh, you mean US laws. Now I'm getting it. You're all chronically American. I'm fucking sorry, but I didn't know the Earth was just one giant United States. Basing universal morality off of US laws has the implication that the US is somehow like the pinnacle of morality or something, because why the hell else would we specifically be using US laws? If it's that antis generally believe that the US is more moral than other countries, and that's why they find US laws in particular so important, buddy, have you taken a US history class? There are a lot of things that are immoral that are not illegal in the US, and there's a lot of things that used to be legal in the US that are very much not moral. Can we stop basing what are supposed to be universal moral ideals on one set of laws and one set of laws alone?
Everyone knows that the US is not perfect. Far from it. But that doesn't mean Lycaon is fine. Again, far from it. It is meant to sexualize what is intended to look and or act like children. That's why we have to let it be scorned by anyone with two brain cells to rub together.
It comes off as really xenophobic.
While I agree that using laws the US has as a standard for morality is something to raise an outcry that, using the word xenophobic in this context makes you sound like you're saying Lycaon being illegal is xenophobic. While I don't believe that is your intention, I still can't stay here and let its unfortunate miswording fly. Well, as I said you start scripting, I do understand why you don't. Feel free to ignore, but I think the best course of action is to write down your thoughts on a particular point you have thoughts about.
Hey guys! What do you call the opposite of a necrophiliac?
Moron.
Oh yeah, I have another thing I want to address from this specific counter-argument. Lycaon being illegal is debatable.
Is Lycaon illegal in the USA? Does it count as child pornography?
I moved this from child custody to criminal defense, as you're asking about whether a given genre of media, Lycaon, or Lolita complex, counts as child pornography. The answer is an unsatisfying it depends. If you're talking about anime or manga, purely cartoon style, it's probably not going to count as child pornography. If it's purely words on a page written material, also generally not. If photographs of underage girls are involved, then it very likely could be construed as child pornography. Under federal and Oklahoma law, 18 is the minimum age to consent to explicit photography. All of that said, since this originated in child custody, if a person has a collection of such materials, think in terms of a collection of video or magazines, not a copy of Nabokov on the bookshelf, It can potentially have an adverse effect on a custody dispute, as it speaks to potentially dangerous or damaging conditions for the child in question.
Lycaon being illegal is quite debatable and, like John Christiansen here says, entirely dependent on the situation. Just owning a lolly manga or something most likely won't get you thrown in the slammer.
Your source, where it does come from a legal expert, does not prove the morality of Lycaon is debatable. Oh, and by the way, there are literally cases where people got arrested for possessing Lycaon, and there are laws against Lycaon in the United States. Also, the morality of Lycaon is cut and dry. Again, it's content that is intended to sexualize the body and sexual mannerisms of young children for sexual purposes. You cannot sit here with that information and decide that it's debatable because of how fictional it is. Any reasonable person will look at content like this with disgust and scorn for obvious reasons, no matter what excuse or loophole can possibly make it okay even a little bit.
Here's the thing, if you want to make arguments about why Lycaon is immoral, that's fine. I believe that there is an important discussion to be had there, but if your only argument against the morality of Lycaon is it's wrong because it's illegal, then maybe you need to rethink your opinion on the matter because you clearly don't have enough to actually argue against it. The thing is, my opinions on lolicons are not positive, but at the end of the day, if they're not being creepy towards real children, I could give less of a fuck. I'm just gonna ignore their existence because it's not my business. The Kamen Rider era of my channel is long over. That doesn't mean I like or respect Kamen Rider, of course, especially since she was saying creepy shit towards real children. But at the end of the day, if she wants to be a lolicon, then whatever, that's her thing, that's her business.
Oh boy. If I had a nickel for every single time I talked about Kamen Rider, I would have 2 nickels. It's not a lot, but it's really happened twice. And no, I will not elaborate on why being a lolicon is bad. Not only do I really don't want to repeat myself like a broken record, but I also feel like I talked about innocent topics quota for the past 6 months.
If fiction doesn't affect reality, then how does propaganda work? What about deepfakes that can harm the people being deepfaked? What about the Truman delusion?
Okay, first of all, fiction does affect reality. I don't think most pro-shippers are arguing against you on that.
Yay! One pro-shipper said, therefore that must mean all pro-shippers believe it. Yee-hoo! But seriously, why do I even sit here and suggest all pro-shippers believe that fiction doesn't affect reality? However, anecdotally speaking, I saw so many pro-shippers who believe it to a point where it's enough to make a settlement somewhere. Pretty cool that your black and white logic is being directed at your own group.
It doesn't affect reality to a 1-to-1 ratio, but it does in fact affect reality. That doesn't debunk pro-ship and pro-fic beliefs though, and through the examples given in this counter-argument, I will explain exactly why. First of all, propaganda. Propaganda works so well to brainwash and indoctrinate people because it is directly trying to tell you things about reality. It is quite literally made to affect reality. The people pushing the propaganda are trying to get the victims of that propaganda to agree with the viewpoint depicted in real life, and they want these people to act on these beliefs. The majority of pro-shippers want their works to stay fictional and not be repeated in real life. They aren't trying to convince you that you should follow through with the acts that are depicted in the fictional setting. And about deepfakes. Deepfakes are literally pulling real things, in this case people, into a fictional work. This obviously could harm the people being depicted. This also applies to things like real-life shipping. Those drag real people into those works of fiction despite the fact that they might not be okay with it. If you are directly involving somebody with a fictional work and they are uncomfortable with it, you should stop involving them. This also applies to people's OCs, as the artists have the rights to those creations and should be allowed to tell someone to not include those characters in certain fictional works. That's just boundaries. It's their character, it's their rules. Now, lastly, the Truman delusion. I actually got this counter-argument from my significant other. He didn't agree with me on a lot of the opinions I had on this topic, so, like normal people, we had a civil conversation about it. And it brought up the Truman delusion, which is a delusion that you're constantly being filmed and that your life is a staged reality show. The condition is named after The Truman Show, a film about a man who experienced exactly that. The name was because some of the people experiencing these delusions did watch this film, implying some kind of correlation between watching the film and these delusions. Though, these people did also have a history of mental health issues that could have caused these delusions. People who suffer delusions would suffer them regardless of if The Truman Show existed or not. Someone with schizophrenia could watch My Little Pony and then run around telling everyone that Queen Chrysalis is secretly impersonating their spouse. Sure, The Truman Show may have a correlation to this specific type of delusion, but that doesn't exactly prove much, because you wouldn't call to censor The Truman Show because of these delusions, would you? If The Truman Show should be censored because it may cause people who have mental illness to gain a certain delusion based around the plot of that movie, then every movie, show, game, etc. should be censored, because this could happen with any piece of media. Maybe we should be trying to treat the underlying mental illness causing these delusions rather than censor literally everything.
Now there's a lot to take in, especially about the Truman delusion, so let's break it down point by point.
The people who experienced the Truman delusion watched The Truman Show and had a history of mental health issues that could have caused those delusions. These people will still have mental health issues regardless if The Truman Show never existed.
Then, just like the Slender Man stabbing, it can be blamed on mental health, with the Truman Show just so happening to be the turning point. Nobody in their right or left mind is denying the fact these delusions would not have existed if the Truman Show did not give the people a medium to believe in those delusions. But unless the Truman Show was 100% intended to make the people believe in all that, then it's just not a possible link. So it's possible that it can happen, but possible does not mean likely. I mean, it's possible that tomorrow I will get stopped by a MAGA hot because he suspected I'm translated by my long short-lived hair, but possible does not mean likely. It's also possible for you to make a response on my video or someone harass me because I made this video, but that isn't likely to happen.
Well, The Truman Show may have given people those delusions, but it doesn't prove much anyways because you aren't trying to censor The Truman Show.
Do you think antis are one big straw-manning hive mind who thinks in black and white so much that they can't see color? It's literally the same reason why antis do not try censoring Slenderman despite the Slenderman stabbing. You cannot predict the actions of a madman. There's a possibility of something happening due to a piece of media, but more often than not, nothing more than just coincidental leaks dug up by those who want the easy way out. Everyone and their mother knows the Truman Show is not intended for anyone to feel like they're in Robert Truman's shoes. You perceiving inconsistency about common sense mothers who brain touch and two working eyes will tell you there is none realistically. Well, on a lighter and somewhat on topic note, if any of y'all watching have never seen the Truman Show, I suggest you watch that as soon as you can. It's a good movie.
It's okay if you portray dark themes in media as long as you don't romanticize or sexualize them.
This argument often comes from a good place, and it seems sound and justified at a first glance. But I have a few issues with this argument, so many issues in fact, that I made a whole video on this specific argument. If you want my full opinion where I go into depth about the discussion of the morality of romanticization, watch that video, link in the description. For the lazy people though, do not worry, I will summarize. Romanticization isn't inherently harmful, at least in my personal opinion based on my interpretation of the definition. To romanticize something in a piece of media, be it visual art or written stories, you just need to make the dark or upsetting subjects depicted look better than they are in reality. That is essentially the only qualification. Almost all art does this to an extent, and it doesn't necessarily imply the promotion of these topics.
Yeah, but it's still about to romanticize shit like abuse. Speaking for myself as a victim of abuse, it's just silly to portray any kind of abuse as cutesy or whatnot. This goes with pedophilic and incestuous tips too.
If you draw gore in any style that isn't hyper-realistic, it's technically romanticization.
No the fuck it's not. That's just drawing gore unrealistically, not romanticization. I thought the girl who literally made a whole ass video on the topic would know the difference between what is technically romanticization versus what is just unrealistic.
Meaning the implication that art featuring romanticization is harmful by default because it's romanticization doesn't make a lick of sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense because pretty much nobody is saying that.
Sexualization of dark themes in a piece of media is also not really inherently harmful.
What do you mean the sexualization of abuse isn't really harmful? It's the sexualization of abuse!
The sexualization of these themes could be done for a number of reasons, someone's personal fetish being only one of them, and even if it was someone's fetish, That's none of your damn business and isn't something you should be demonizing someone over, as long as they aren't practicing harmful behaviors in real life or promoting practicing harmful behaviors in real life.
Oh great, now we're crossing into my favorite untouchable argument. Stop with the cookie cutter. If it stays fiction, then it's okay, BS. Well, I suppose I can do this one more time because it really needs to be said. Kink is not above criticism. Kink is not above condemning if it's inherently bad. If someone is romanticizing, sexualizing, or fetishizing something like an abuse, then it deserves to be called out. Even if they're not practicing those kinks in real life. Regardless of whether or not it's just bound to fiction, it can still be bad. Seriously, we need to cancel the if it all remains fiction, then it's inherently good and other mindsets like that, because that's not how it works.
People might depict dark themes this way for shock value, contrast, to get into the head of a character with these fetishes, etc., etc. My favorite example of the sexualization of dark themes to bring up in this discussion is probably Salad Fingers, a series that clearly portrays its main character being a sexual masochist, and even in later episodes, a necrozoophile. This is, by definition, the sexualization of self-harm, among other things. But of course, aunties don't care about this insanely popular web series. But when it's convenient to harass a random, usually queer, artist with 3 followers on Twitter, suddenly portraying certain themes in this way becomes a problem.
While I can't give you that Salad Fingers definitely has very good themes and shock value, well, that's the point. It's supposed to be shocking for the sake of it. In fact, it's hardly even comparable to Proshipper content. Also, I couldn't help but notice how you worded that last part. It implies that antis are homophobic, transphobic, etc., which implies that shipping pedophilic ships is a queer art, which, ew. Kids, this is why you need to script your videos.
Okay, listen. Assuming somebody is gay because of their appearance is stereotyping and harmful. But fucking look at him!
So, time for conclusion. Your video gets toilet water. You criticizing antis for supposedly swarming pro-shippers, meanwhile you hypocritically do the exact same thing throughout the section. And then there is the rampant black and white argument and logic throughout this video. Drawing inconsistencies where there is none. Taking things to the extreme, and some plumb bad arguments. If I have the ability to give advice to you, it's this. Actually try to be a commentator. Script your videos, make arguments, and actually address the counter arguments. There's a reason why you're called a fast food commentator, and it's because of, well, how you make your commentary videos. But I know that any criticism I have is all for nothing because you have not changed since I first heard of you through Crying Blossom's video, and my goodness what a garbage heap that video was. Like, don't think I haven't heard of you posting your comments, deflecting criticism using your aids, to name a few. Generally, I hope you change from this whole ordeal. Like, I deadass don't want to hear about how recent the voters video is this, meanwhile you act like this. Phew. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you saw my community tab or watched the disclaimer I put in front of the video, then an update and it was forwarded. Things are looking better now, but I don't think what made my day. My mom has been holding me and pushing my buttons for way too long, it's not even funny. I know this video is more controversial than the videos I usually put out, but what's a YouTube commentary channel without a little controversy here and there? Anyways, hope you're having a good month so far and a better August than me. Anyways, I'm a binge watch video about the new WoW expansion. Be sure to take care of yourself, clean your room, do your laundry, your drawing's looking fantastic, and the story you're writing is puggles. With all that out of the way, this is Max Dragonwolf logging out.